I didn't expect a lot of traffic on the last video that I did about what it was like to DJ back in the old days with record players and turntables, but got quite a bit of traffic. And thank you for checking the video out and your comments and your likes and all of that stuff. The reason I didn't expect a lot of activity on it is because I was talking about kind of the meat and potatoes stuff that I used to do in my world. Now, it was different in other places, I understand that. But back in the 80s, when I got started, most DJs were just trying to not have dead air between tracks. They weren't doing crazy hip-hop or house mixes or trance mixes or whatever. The reality was a lot less romantic. But when you think about the record players, everybody now thinks about this. And that's funny too, because back in the old days, when you would tell somebody that you were a DJ, the first thing they would ask is, what radio station do you play on? Then you'd have to explain, no, I don't play on the radio. I do things like weddings, and then I do bars and clubs and stuff. And the response would always be, oh. Because back then, it wasn't as cool to be a DJ. Unless you were on the radio, or you were some big-time producer. That got me thinking about the different types of DJs that I can remember there being out there. And they were very different. You had the big-time producer guys, which are few and far between, who were doing some amazing stuff. And they were incorporating a lot of the mixing skills that had been developed throughout, like disco and hip-hop, into dance music. S Express was doing it. Mars did it. KLF. Oh my gosh, if you don't know KLF, check out KLF, listen to their tracks, and then find out what samples they use and listen to those. Some of them are kind of obscure, and it's really cool how they even thought to put those tracks together. Remember, there was no Google back then, and there was no option in a program to just say, find similar tracks when you have like every known track under the sun in your music library. It wasn't like that. They had to somehow just come up with these tracks just by knowing them in the first place. And that's pretty cool. There were people in Chicago who did this kind of stuff. The Hot Mix 5 guys. Julian Jumpin' Perez, Bad Boy Bill. And who was the other guy that I really liked? Bobby D. I've never met those guys. I know Scott Silts, but I don't know the other guys. But yeah, those guys were doing some amazing quick mix stuff. Bobby D did the Jock Jams Mega Mix, if you guys remember playing that one back in the old days. Then you had your hip-hop DJs like DJ Easy Rock and DMC. They were actually part of hip-hop acts and rap acts. And those are performance guys. I didn't really know a lot of people like that back in the old days. I did know some club guys who were just doing the beat mixing stuff. In the clubs, be it house or just, Eurodance stuff or energy music. And even the guys who were doing like R&B, New Jack, were more like those guys than they were the hip-hop producer guys. Of course, you had the radio guys. And that was something that I thought was really cool until I found out that there was a program director who told you what to play. And then I wasn't interested in being a radio DJ anymore. And then there were us mobile DJs and those who just blended tracks like I was talking about earlier. And they didn't have like this cool guy reputation. A lot of them were nerdy back then. They still are. But a lot of them were, think of the nerdiest mobile DJ on social media you can think of. That's what a lot of the mobile DJs were like. That's what most people thought of when they thought of mobile DJs. And maybe they still do. But back then, yeah. They were all freaks of nature and a little odd. Good people. But not what you would call the cool kids. The cool kids were the club DJs doing that house and, cool stuff in the clubs, Those guys were cooler than us mobile guys. But I never really completely identified with the mobile DJ because I wasn't like them. I was programming different than they were. I was mixing a little different than they were. But I never completely identified with the big room club DJ either. Somewhere in the middle. And I do believe that today, anyway, there's more emphasis put on beat mixing than there is programming. It's more important that two songs beat mixed together than it is for two songs to be the right two songs to play back to back. I think if you started out doing mobile stuff, it was all about programming. And if you kind of inched your way into more of the club stuff, then you took those two worlds and meshed them together. Not only were you doing really great song selections, but you were mixing them together. And the really solid club guys were doing exactly that. And a lot of them started out doing the mobile stuff. If you start out doing club stuff and you try to go to mobile, I think it's a very hard transition. Because, yeah, it's about the right song. It's about playing for this really eclectic group in front of you that's all ages. When you're doing clubs, you're playing to people from 21 to 25 or whatever, and they all kind of like the same thing, and they're there for the same reason. But it's different at a wedding. So I think it's easier to go from that mobile world to that club world. Hip-hop stuff, the closest I ever got to that, I had a guy who taught me how to do loops and some basic scratches, just a guy I knew. But I never really incorporated that too much into my sets until much later on in my career. Once computers came out, it just got easier. On turntables, that was tough. I could do it, but I was never confident enough to do it where I was going to get it right every time. So, yeah, I don't want to bring anything on the road, any skill I have, unless I feel like that I'm competent enough in it to not screw it up. I don't want to practice on the road, if you will. I want to make sure that happens at home. I don't want to get it so right that I can't get it wrong. So it was fun to practice, but yeah, it was really more about just the cool blends for me and the cool beat mixes when it worked. When the two songs to play back to back were the right songs that happened to match up BPM wise and make sense harmonically, then I do it. But that's just my thing. That's my art form. That's what I do. Whatever you do is not the wrong thing. When I put that video up, a lot of folks talked about how they got into it in the 90s. Thinking about like mid-90s, like 93, 94, whatever. It started to make more sense to go CD. And that's what we did. Because it sounded really good. And stuff was becoming available and it was a lot more feasible. And it did sound better. CDs sounded better than records on a PA system. A lot easier to tune and such. There was skipping, but not as bad as records. No pops, no cue burn, none of that stuff. And a lot of these guys who started in the 90s started with records. So they were trying to be a very different kind of DJ than I was. There was even somebody who showed me a video of them. It was really cool from like 99. They had trance music, I guess, and they were mixing it with cassettes. And they were sticking the finger in the cassette reel trying to slow it down or speed it up or whatever. It was pretty neat. But yeah, they were really trying to be a different kind of DJ than I ever aspired to be. More of the, I guess, big room club guy. I never aspired to be the big room club guy. I like them and appreciate them, admire them. And I was a big club goer for many, many years. I would check out what DJs were doing. And yeah, the good ones, they brought the best of both. They brought the programming and the mix. Those were the places you wanted to go. But anyway, just a quick video for you. I don't know if it makes any sense, but I wanted to put it up. Just some thoughts I had. Before I end it, I will share one other quick thing with you. It looks like O.J. Simpson died yesterday, and it brought back a memory. I remember going into the club early to work out. I always did that. I still do it. If I can go in 2 hours early to the club, I totally do it. And I'll just try things and play things. Sometimes just to myself on the headphones. Other times it's being broadcast out. Just to work out, you know. Get some food. Chill out. Get ready to go. Warm up, if you will. Came in early one night and the big screen behind the bar was down. And they were projecting live the OJ infamous Bronco chase thing. And there was no sound. So I decided to put together what I call the Ode to OJ set. And I don't remember the whole thing, but here are some track highlights that I do remember. Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. OJ, She Used to Be My Girl. Foghat, Slow Ride. GNR, Used to Love Her, Had to Kill Her. And Pride Adams, Cuts Like a Knife. I know there were other tracks, I just can't remember what they were. But I hadn't thought of that in a while, so I thought I'd share it with you. Anyway, that's it, guys. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you so much. Practice and enjoy.